So there was a comment that was left on my video about targeted individuals being a niche for law enforcement and healthcare professionals, you know. And you when you share information that you encounter, it's for the benefit of others and to be informative as to allow the people that are responsible for those tactics to be made aware that, hey, you know tighten up. That's one of your main purposes of bringing that to the attention of others, to them in general, whether it's anybody that's listening, whether there's an audience of people that experience the same thing you experience, and it's either for them, for it to be beneficial to them, or it's beneficial to those that are reprehensible for those particular um tactics that's been used, throughout the history or throughout the course of um, this reality. So, you know, I I I found, that response, kind of, no, it was, like, son, some attention needs to be brought to this. It's because of the way that it's been stated, and there's certain spirits that come along with what you post and how things are posted. You can sense the spirit in the way a person say certain things online, especially if you have a discerning spirit. You can get a sense of, oh, that was stated out of love, or that was stated out of hostility, or that was stated, to encourage me, or that was stated to discourage me. You know, and when doing so, we could either respond in the way that they want you to respond, or you can either elaborate on it, to be more informative, because that is the overall goal of having an outlet. The outlet is to be informative, to be assistive, to be either supportive, or to be instructive. And these are some of the reasons why certain people might make um videos or be a content creator. But here we had the comment from someone that identified themselves as a CIA target, and that alone, is something that brings attention to you, because when it comes to targeting in CIA, and you have to understand the scope of what CIA is actually all about, the Central Intelligence Agency, meaning that it's the center of all intelligence, meaning that it places itself in the seat of God by gathering intel and knowing all and seeing all. So this is what the Central Intelligence Agency is all set up for. It's not just restrictive to foreign nations, but to all nations. If it's not, then it would not have that moniker of being a Central Intelligence Agency. So for one to believe that, they are a target of CIA, that becomes part of, the video I made where we stated that um, many are targeted, but few are targets. You know, where many people, many nations, many civilizations, many empires, many things that are able to be targeted will be targeted. But only few of those people will be targets, will be those that are continuously move, and continuously be one that not that dodges the stones that are being thrown at them, that'll keep weaving the traps that are set for them. Only few people will do that. Others will allow themselves to sit there and get stoned, and fall into traps, you know. But when talking about CIA, we're talking about um a clandestine or a secret spy like people. When you had the spy master with Queen Elizabeth and England, is that Queen Elizabeth? But whoever it was that got um got the King James mother decapitated, she had spy masters and they use certain tactics to trip her up, and you know what I mean. So it's a deep rooted history when it comes to spying and setting traps and getting people into falling into certain um things that's set up for them. Write you a letter and say, hey, do you want to set up such and such and such and such? um I don't know about that. Just say yes and we'll do it. Okay, let's do it. Gotcha. So we do have spy masters and those that have a history of setting traps for others. But when it comes to the history of it, no one will be individualized unless you are one that is unpredictable. Unpredictable. Person, one that is unpredictable. See, the thing is to use certain tactics, and so one of those tactics is fear. People that are fearful are predictable. They're either going to do one of a few things. They're either going to fight, they're either going to flee, and they're either going to hide, or either they're going to conform. So these are certain tactics that's done with the thing called fear. This is one thing that they do when it comes to fear. One of four things, amongst many. But those that don't fear, they become unpredictable. They are not able to be cornered and they're not able to be trapped. These are people that know the consequences and repercussions of their actions and why certain things are what they are, and they're comfortable with it. Anything that come out of my mouth, I'm comfortable with the outcome of it. That's something that you just have to be aware of. You take accountability for that. If it comes along with you being sought out and crucified, guess what? Got to eat that. But one of their tactics is to discourage, and the discouragement is what keeps people from doing certain things. So when I saw that comment, I said, hold on, this person is trying to discourage me. Who are you working for? You know, you don't, allies don't discourage allies, they be supportive of allies. So if you identify yourself as one that is a target, you know what I mean? Any target is an ally, and you will want to encourage them, you know. But to discourage you, that means that, hold on, you're not an ally of me, you're an ally of the wicked. You encourage the righteous, you discourage the wicked. That's the whole objective. It's to discourage the wicked from being wicked, you know. And if you see that a person is vocal, especially when speaking to um those in positions of power, and they have the courage to come on to make themselves seen, and this is a joyous person. This person loves people and loves to be engaged in activities that's harmonious. But when he has to come down and address people that need to be addressed because he has the courage or she has the courage to address these people, you will want to encourage them. But to discourage them, that's, you know, that's a wicked act. So here you have, someone stating that, I'm sorry, but this is 110 minutes long. I can't bear to listen to this. You do realize we are already being tortured every minute of every day, you know, and you could state, hold on, dog. Okay, let me shorten my videos up for you so you don't have to sit and watch all that time. But you don't put a time limit on um valuable information that may be valuable. You might say certain things that might be 40 minutes into the video that you might not catch the first 4 or 5 minutes into the video. You might catch something at the end of the video that may be useful to you. And that's the thing. When you are one that is targeted by the CIA, it's because you have information that's that's either beneficial to them, or you have the ability to gather information that may be beneficial or detrimental to them. So if you're one that lacks the patience to acquire information, then you are not one for them worthy enough for them to have to keep an eye and spy on you. Because the thing is, when you go to anybody that likes me anywhere, I'm always checking the background of the people. Always checking the background, because again, this isn't a costume for me. This isn't play for me. What I experience with receipts, with receipts. You understand? With receipts. What does it say here? I'm sure these things say righteous in all my responses. Know what I mean? You know what I mean? I'm sure that they say righteous in my response. This is one of the things that, your boy Yoshi-iye says, and that's a sign of acknowledgement for me. But this is something that a phrase that I coined when I'm online. But I'm sure that people know that, but I've shown you where there was people that mimicked me. You understand? Mimicked me. I've shown you that. You went. I mean, beyond. Showing you that, son, this isn't a game. This isn't a game, and you do see what you see, and you do share what you're supposed to share. Even when I shared, the things about how diseases and drugs are created, they're created in a lab, you know. And just a couple of minutes ago, I researched um, synthetic heroin, synthetic heroin for drug addicts as a solution to them um being on the streets and homeless due to their involvement in drugs. Because now what you can do is set up, you know like in the Hurricane Katrina, where they turned like gymnasiums and coliseums into like places of residence. That environment can be used for those people, and then you have like a working civilization inside of there where you keep everything civil, with nurses, with officers, with everybody, but you have a synthetic form of the drugs that prevents them from going out to get the drugs until they get off of the drugs. Then when you go in to find out information about synthetic heroin, you find out that synthetic heroin is created in the laboratory, and it's called fentanyl. So, fentanyl, the whole fentanyl epidemic, is of offspring of scientists in the labs that creating drugs to destroy people. The same exact thing that I stated about when you seen the Gremlins. He got the brain serum. The brain serum's gonna make him smart. Do you want these diseases that we created here? So you're not just one that's vocal about it, but you're more than vocal about it. You're gathering, sensitive intel that, people really don't put out. And if they do put that information out, then they're putting it out, from um, a perspective that it's not going to be felt because it's coming from the actual source without giving you the spirit of rejecting it, but accepting it as this is just what it is. So there's a way for you to receive certain things with the spirit of rejecting it and or the spirit of accepting it. The spirit of rejecting it comes with the spirit of change. Those with the spirit of change know what the spirit of change is. Those without the spirit of change don't know what the spirit of change is. One of the telltale signs that you can tell from the spirit of change is when individuals change, that outlook. If they was a people that used to curse every time they got online, then they would be able to change that. They would be able to restrict that. If they was a people that had a problem with the N word and they can't change that, then they simply don't have the spirit of change. And if they do, they would correct that and they would show other people how to correct that. Like, you know what, I don't have to curse. Cursing doesn't make you cool. What it does, it makes you sound, like you don't have any kind of control over your ability to not, say certain things is profound or there's profane. And when you say the N word, like I've seen certain people online that's supposed to be of a certain intellectual status and a certain status of consciousness, but they are not conscious enough to know the detriment of a word and how much energy is created around that word, and they still use that word, so you've seen certain people that have big contents that still use that word, and don't have any kind of, intentions. They don't hint at the fact that they have to, oh my bad, I shouldn't have stated that, or I shouldn't have said that. When you had the Hebrew person, the Hebrew Israelite, and he was talking, he was N word this and N word that and N word this and N word that. Then when you had other people, like 19 Keys, man, F that N word, and these are people that we, look at in a certain, esteem as they're pious and oh they're about to do something, but that's not the case, and again, you're not one that's, not going to shy away from certain things that need to be addressed. When young Pharaoh was going at it with Riza Islam, he kept calling him the N-word, and what I mean, N-word, N-word this, N-word that. So you're like, son, are y'all aware that these aren't, what I mean, those people that, you know, you say they are just them in a disguise that know certain things, but they are not those with the spirit of change. What the spirit of change look like is this apartment that I came in. When I first came in here, it had an infestation. There was roaches in here. Even before there was any kind of furniture, any kind of food in here, there was roaches in here. You know, and when I came here, they disappeared. You know, they're gone. You understand? Like to this day, you won't find not one single roach in here. But my neighbors, they still have them. What is it that I do that, I'm able to, keep the roaches away? What is it that I'm able to do? Because, it's, it's a certain thing that I have, But you're not saying that to say that, yo, it's only something that I have. No, you can learn it as well, you know. But they're not here. So you've changed that. You've changed your name. You've changed the way that you allow yourself to be perceived online. You change the way that you speak online. This is a person with the spirit of change. So a person with the spirit of change could change other things. If you know that the world needs to change, then maybe you should pave way and make way for those with the spirit of change to change certain things, to be suggestive about it because they're sincere about it, you know. But we do have these certain people that we call world leaders, and they're in world religions, and these religions, they have now taken the role of um militarizing their nations, where you have, Trump, a Protestant Christian, proclaiming that America's a Christian nation. You have Iran, that's Islamic. Then you have Israel, that's Judaic. And all of these three people are in the world religions, but yet they're plotting mass destruction, targeting civilians. Look at Trump, targeting civilians. And if they target those civilians, then other civilians got to get targeted, then other civilians got to get targeted. So that's why you wanted to make that understanding understood about, many people are targeted, and we can't individualize us being targeted as just that's what it is, because again, we make light of the situation of the mass targeting. And if I wasn't a target, I would be a target, because I wouldn't allow other people to be targeted, for um personal interests or certain agendas, especially when propaganda is tied into it, especially when we go back into, Nazi Germany, when we had the Antifa even there. Now you have Antifa over here, where you have all sorts of propagandist groups being created to create division and stir up conflict and to keep things going. These are things that you would be adverse to, and which would make you a target of any and everything. So that's just something I wanted to point out about that. Is that they have people that claim that they're targets, but they are actually in cahoots with the wicked and working, with the wicked, because of certain things that they, you know, refuse to put down, you know, and pick up, But that's something I wanted to show. But to discourage, which that comment is, it's a tactic of the devil, and devil is evil people, you know. That's how I identify the devil. I don't say that it's a person with, it's a being with, no, it's, wicked people with wicked spirits that are relentless in their wickedness. If they had to yield to it, and they reflect on it, and they say, you know what, I'm not going to be like that, let me go ahead and go back and take that comment down. But no, they just wicked people and leave their wickedness, to be seen by all, you know. But when you try to discourage people, that is one of their tactics, to say, yo, don't make these long, lengthy videos, because you might slip up and say certain things. So, I don't want to listen to that. I can't bear to hear that. It's good, because now you identify who you are. You're not one that is, seeking and finding. You're one that's seeking and trying to hide. Now, I mean, you got seek and ye shall find. You got those that seeking and cover that up. Don't, shh, don't say nothing. You got those people. You got you got those people. You got those people, and I'm not one of them. So, discouragement is widely considered a primary tactic of the devil, aimed at fostering doubt, fear, and hopelessness to weaken faith and to hinder spiritual growth. To hinder it. Like, stop that. You know, You putting this stuff out. I don't want people to see this. I don't want them because it'll boost their spirit up. Now they got the spirit of courage as opposed to spirit of fear. We want people to be fearful. You know what happens to us? Don't you know we're being bombarded every day with electronic harassment? No, you are. No. But if you know that there's people that are able to sidestep that, maybe you should find out the tactics that they use to sidestep that. You know, it serves as a tool to distract individuals from God's purpose, leading to despair or temptation to abandon positive pursuits. The ultimate goal is to make individuals surrender their faith, cease doing good, and give up on their spiritual journey. Method of action: distraction lies in causing people to feel isolated, overwhelmed, or tempted by pride and comparison. Pride and comparison. Targeting the mind. The mind is always under a targeted attack. Again, many are targeted, few are targets. You know what I mean? When they get into your mind, they they you are targeted. They got you. They got into your mind. They penetrated you. Now they have a hold of it. But if you're not able to get into that person's head and that person has to keep, ducking from your tactics, then you gotta keep targeting him. Keep targeting, which is an ongoing thing, means that it's a persistent thing. It's a persistent pursuit of targeting that particular person. It's not a targeted person, it's the targeting. We're targeting that person, so it's an ongoing thing. Until that person is no longer a target, that person is not going to be defeated. The enemy attacks by influencing thoughts, causing fear, frustration, and doubts. The antidotes: maintaining focus on God's word and engaging in prayer and practicing thanksgiving are cited as ways to overcome, as mentioned. Maintaining focus on God's word. And one of the things that, I always focus on is what, God told me, personally when, I was young. So that's what I maintain my focus on. So regardless of what people say in this reality, I'm really not concerned with it because I already know the end result of certain things. But again, they do give you, the super villains normally give you your superheroes. And when they give you your superheroes, there's always a tragic story behind them to discourage you from being like those superheroes that they give you. When they give you Dr. King, he was a peaceful man, but yet they took him down. I don't want to do what he just did because they're going to come for me. When they give you your superheroes, there's always a tragic story behind them that always is meant to cause or create fear in you or doubt in you, to prevent you from pursuing that spiritual growth or that spiritual nature that he had. Oh, he was, one that marched all the way from here to all the way over there. He rallied up people and they shouted and marched, but yet they took him down. So uh, I don't want to do that. Again, it's always a tragic story behind them. So when you go back into um, this particular, you know, person, there's always, I mean, where is this person now? She's not here no more. She's missing. This person made videos about this and then they just disappeared, harassing him. Then he just disappeared. You know what I mean? They always, scare you with the disappearing act. And then you also have those that, post the missing people, and we do know that people can come up missing. We are aware of that. I'm sure I'm aware of that. A neighbor around here told me like, yo, the FBI was watching this person, and then, I'm aware of that, But again, we hold dear to what we believe, and what God says, And again, anything that comes along with what I do, I accept it, I accept it. Is it right for people to be treated that way? No. Is it righteous to allow people to be treated that way? No. That would be wicked. You turn a blind eye to corruption and to um, people doing whatever they want to do to others. When everyone has a right to life, what I mean, and liberty. When everyone does, So you're not one to turn a blind eye. You're not one to keep your mouth shut because there's fear and fear tactics being used. You're not that one. But here you have just the saying alone, targeted by my own U.S. government for believing in free speech, trying to murder me, but not before they have everyone in my life convinced that I am crazy. That way they won't be held accountable when they kill me. Check out Targeted Justice for more information. You understand? Does that sound like someone, I mean, legit? Because we do have, you know, um, the truth zone where they say whatever they want to say. You know what I mean? They say anything that they want to say. Trump agrees to 2 week ceasefire in Iran. Breaking news. You know what I mean? They say whatever they want to say. You know what I mean? It's freedom of speech, right? Moments after President Trump announced agreement of 2 week ceasefire, early alerts were sent out for incoming missiles forward towards Tel Aviv. Breaking news, Iran. Popcorn. Popcorn. You know what I mean? Just getting it. You know, but they say what they want to say. The show must go on. The greatest movies we've ever watched. You know what I mean? Trump agrees to, you know what I mean? They say whatever they want to say. But are they ones that's in a targeted individual program? Or are they ones that's saying, yo, because I'm saying all of this stuff, this is Truth Zone. I'm Truth Seeker with 446,000 followers. People's going to kill me, and there's people every time I leave out, they're watching me. You got the all seeing eye, the pyramid that's on a dollar bill, which is American. I mean, you got them blocked off. And you're saying this is the truth zone. You know what I mean? Fighting for the truth, exposing the lies. It's just satire. Remember that. You know? But they say whatever they want to say, right? You know? You know? You get it? But back to the CIA and, individualizing you being a CIA target, that's not, that's a fallacy. CIA targets everybody. Everybody's a target for CIA. It's just that some people are more um, of a personal interest than others are. You know, so here we have, me, I even directed you towards how the CIA set up by you coming across information about Homeland Security, where they stumble up and give you vital information about the works and the setup of CIA. They show you how the CIA get into other countries, they get into the civilian population and turn one cell into a cell against the government, then turn another cell and just get them to turn this that just gets them to just spread out like cancers and just multiply. And that same exact system has been used throughout every nation. So everybody is under a certain watch. It's not just one person singled out and being targeted. It's not that. It's That's just how CIA works. They have to be the know all, see all. They have to be that. If not, they wouldn't be that. So while the CIA is legally chartered for foreign intelligence, declassified documents and reports reveal it extensively gathers information on Americans, not just one American citizen, but on Americans by purchasing commercial data and exploiting smart devices. The agency operates as a central hub in the intelligence community, leveraging sophisticated technology for global surveillance, not just one person, but global surveillance. global surveillance, often blurring lines between domestic and foreign intelligence gathering. Key aspects of CIA intelligence gathering: technology exploitation. WikiLeaks documents this is alleged, that CIA uses sophisticated software to turn smartphones, smart TVs, and cars into eavesdropping tools. Bulk data collections. Declassified documents show the agency holds bulk collections of Americans' personal information. Commercial data access. Intelligence agencies, including the CIA, purchase commercially available information covering location data, web browsing, and purchasing habits to gain insights into private behavior. Legal mandate. Officially, the CIA is restricted from spying on U.S. persons, which such duties fallen to the FBI, though in practice, data sharing and commercial purchases blur this distinction. Historical context. The agency has historically pushed boundaries of surveillance and psychological control, as shown in controversial MK Ultra program, which involved unethical human experimentation. So there you have, um, just AI, your friend AI giving you a rundown of CIA's involvement in their role of information gathering, where every and anybody is a target. You know what I mean? Any and everybody is a target. So people in America will be targeted, people in foreign nations will be targeted. So there's no way for you to single yourself out. And when you do single yourself out as amongst everybody else and believe that you're one that is sought after because I'm just one that I have to speak the truth, and you, you become narcissistic, when there's many truth tellers and there's many people that is um capable of gathering the same information everybody else gathered and sharing the same information that anybody else gathers. But then there's some that gathers information and put together stuff that is, is a phenomenal way that they put it together. And those people would have to be sought out for that phenomenal way of gathering information. When when I worked, and I always state that I worked for this woman in this company. She was my boss, but she needed somebody to fix something in that company. And as you worked for, her in that company, you found out that the company itself, like all the employees, was trying to sabotage her. And you found that out not from you going amongst them listening, but from you putting things together, by you piecing things together and seeing that, hold on, the reason why you can't do your job is because they're messing your job up for you because they want him to have your job. So that's why they're messing up your job. And then you bring that to her attention and you bring that to the company's attention. And she get absolved and the people that was responsible for it, they get punished for it. So you have an exceptional ability to put things together, to piece things together, and to bring things to the forefront and to change certain things. And this, something that I know. This is something that I have done and countless times. And you don't say that arrogantly, well, I've done this, XYZ. No, you say that because that's an exceptional thing, for you to acknowledge that, I've done that, time and time again. You know, I've done that. And why is it so hard for other people to do that? It's because there's people that benefit from that. It's people benefit from sabotaging others. It's people from that benefits from sabotaging systems. It's people that benefit from, destruction of others. It's people that benefit from that. Who would benefit from the destruction of all these nations? Those that are in construction. Now, I mean, technology companies. When we look at China and you go over to China and you see the expansive technological advancement that they created in their cities, and they have like a big city like structure with technology and robotics and stuff like that. In order for that to come about, they have to break down the infrastructures that they have now and then create new ones. So this is the staging of wars. They have to bomb certain places, destroy certain things, and to build other things. And they definitely have the resources, the manpower, and the technology to do so. And you could disguise that under war. Even when you go into um the World Trade Center. When you go into World Trade Center now, it's like you go into outer space. How technologically advanced that area is. I went there. I slept on a train one time going to work, and I woke up. It was like, yo, I'm I'm in Mars, But it was, where the World Trade Center was. It was very, 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 you know, futuristic looking. So sometimes they have to take down old structures to create new structures. And that's the same thing with anything that has to be demolished. They demolish it because they're making something new. You know, so that's something that you wanted to share. And again, here you have you finding out about synthetic heroin. Like how could we create a means of, you know, helping those people that's on heroin because it's a very addictive drug and there's a way to get them off, but how do we create a synthetic form of heroin? It already exists. It's fentanyl. Hold up. That means that fentanyl was lab created. They was created in a laboratory by scientists. You know, so it's a staging of certain things, because these are people with a destructive nature. You know. Synthetic heroin generally refers to a highly potent synthetic opioids, most commonly fentanyl and its analogs. So fentanyl is an analog that are produced in laboratories and used as substitute for or mixed with illicit heroin. So they're created in laboratories and used as a substitute for or mixed with heroin. So these things are created to target heroin addicts. So these things are created for targeted individuals. You know, you get it? Fentanyl, a strong synthetic opioid, is the Philadelphia area's top local drug threat. The top. So it targeted a whole, city. And I bear witness to that. I bear witness to it. And I've seen the people that was responsible for it bear witness to it. The same way I went to the work for that woman and seeing what was going on, the same way I went out to Philadelphia and I went to go do works out there and I seen what was going on, I bear witness to it. You know. So there you have that. You know. There you have that. Philadelphia had a total of 1,315 overdose deaths according to data from Philadelphia Department of Health. I bear witness to that. But when people, they you know they act like we are all not being, you know, um, realistic and being delusional. You know, here's again, here's again. You know, what does this say? Righteous with a person, with the sun as his eye. You know what I mean? And if you was to look into, you know what I mean, who this person is, he says that I am that I am. Why would I am that I am have to mimic me? You know, why would a person that proclaims to be that have to mimic, me? You know, this is something that, you commented on this post one time, you know, and you explained to them that you had an ability to pick up a stone when you went to Virginia, because this is about Virginia, and I picked up a stone in Virginia. One thing I like to do is just look out the window and just see that me and the moon is like right here. The moon is like right there, and it's, what I mean. Is always a reminder that, what I mean, you're, what I mean, you're aligned with what you're supposed to be aligned with. Always look out there. Either the moon is out there or the sun is out there. You know, and you stay, true to who you are and what it is that you you're you're about. But that's the only thing that does. But every time I just glance out there, right there, and the moon is right there. And I mean, it's funny that happens. But these people, they like to keep things going when it comes to, like, racial, and think white people did this and white folks. Nah, it's not white. Son, I know good white people. I know wicked black people. I know good Spanish people. I know wicked Spanish people. I know good Chinese people. I know wicked Chinese people. I know, what I mean? It's not a people, what I mean, that has a certain way of being. That's the individual's, their makeup. It's their whole, what I mean, way of being, their existence. But it's not all, Caucasian people. And that's one thing that, a certain group of people want to make you believe that, all white people have to pay for what they did to black people. That ain't white people. That's a system has to pay for whatever they did to anybody. That's period. Whether it's um Japanese, whether it's a Hindu, whatever it is that people did to other people, they have to be held accountable for it, and what I mean, either, rectify any kind of mistreatment that may have had a ill result that leads up to this present day. Whatever it is, those people have to, come from out of hiding and correct it. So if it's a American thing, it's a Freemason thing, it's a Christian thing, if it's a Muslim thing, if it's a Judaic thing, whoever it is, if it's a Nazi thing, but Freemasons behind them, whoever it is, they have to come from out of the shadows and, correct those wrongs, or those wrongs are going to be persistent, especially when we're dealing with a certain level of intelligence, and every action has a reaction, and till those actions are brought to, or made right, then the reaction of those actions are always going to be persistent. But we do see, what I mean, that we do have, people that have, what I mean, proclaimed to be me. What I mean, that have disguised themselves as me. You know what I mean? And you can't do this unless you are a target. You know what I mean? They target you, and then they emulate you, then they take your content down, and then they replace your content with other people's stuff. But in this video, I did tell them that, I was in Virginia, and I picked up a stone, and I had a revelation of everything that happened there. You can't, I'm not going to be able to explain it to you, because I don't know what, you know what I mean? I don't know how I do what I do. I just do what I do. You know what I mean? I don't want to do it. I just do it. So I don't know what that was. But then later you find out that it's a certain thing called token object reading, where certain people have the ability to pick up certain things and get an understanding of it. And not only that, but you find out that that's a thing that when you go into the lost symbol, one of the people that's a remote viewer has the ability to pick up an item and find out certain things. So this is a real practice that, you know what I mean, some people practice and are able to do because of they have a certain um extrasensory ability, that other people might not have or might not be aware of. But we do see that. I mean, you know, this particular person, let's see, right here, just so you can get it, you know, just so you can get it, because I did share this, but a lot of this stuff fall on deaf ears. Why? Why? When this is, a telltale sign that, son, you really are experiencing certain things that you say you do. You know what I mean? As opposed to, why are they bothering me? These stupid people, these gangsters. Nah, I'm going to give you the truth, you know. But as you see here, is you can look into the picture. If you see an M right there, you see that, and then you see an I right there. If you can only just imagine what it says in there, I am that I am. Why would this person, you know what I mean? Why would a being like that, target a being like me? Or unless I am that which I am. But that's not the only one. Here you have his name. Here you have the guy's name. So that it's a setup. Here you have his name, but here you don't have his name. you know this is just user WP1QV9RV8V. You know what I mean? Here you don't have the name, but you do have righteous. You know what I mean? Why would you want to emulate little old me? you know uh That I'm delusional. There's nobody's targeting you. No, you're not a target. Huh? Yeah, but that's just a little something. That's just a little something that you can, what I mean, you can share with people that this is what people do. What I mean, when you know that you're under a certain surveillance and you're being watched, and they're not just watching you, but they're also mimicking you. They have other people that mimic you and other people that mimic you. So you do know that, you are aware of that. you know but you know that's that. And again, you have these type of people that just share all type of stuff that, what I mean, is freedom of speech, and they don't have any kind of um Steve O pledges allegiance to the club. you know well, they say whatever they want to say. you know Here you have them saying that, this is Freemason. you know Here you have, NASA and the people that love the globe. So they can say whatever they want to say. Flat Earth, round Earth. You can, I mean, you know, people picking on people. Then they got this guy with the devil on his hand. Displayed right here. Showing you that these people are, demonic people. Don't listen to anything that they say. Ooh, that NASA flight was fake. They didn't really go to the moon. Why all of a sudden they fly to the moon but don't land on the moon? Anybody can say whatever they want to say. You know, you know, talk about the celebrities. They can say whatever they want to say. You know, as a freedom of speech. And then you do have the people. You know what I mean? That do the fingers, the finger poppers. You know, you got those people that uh, say whatever they want to say. Look at this, the slinky spaceship. It's like a balloon. Uh, they say whatever they want to say, but are they targeted? No. Are they targeted? No. No, they're not. No, I get paid for this stuff. Big, big following. Big following. But you, on the other hand, no, you come with the spirit of truth. The spirit of truth is the spirit that set people free. You know what I mean? So it's a difference when you say it and they say it. They don't got the spirit of truth. They got the spirit of being deceptive and being satire. Being satire. When it's satire, then it's not, well received. It's received in a jocular fashion. To make light of it. It's just satire. Remember, let's see. Satire and the truth are deeply interconnected, with satire functioning as a tool to expose, critique, or mock reality through exaggeration, irony, and humor, while the truth is often direct and fact based. Satire uses fictional or observed scenarios to highlight underlying, often uncomfortable truths that might be overlooked in traditional reporting. So they have a different twist to them. You know what I mean? Where they might have some humor in it and it may mock certain things, but the truth is direct and it is fact based. You know what I mean? So sometimes you get the feel of the truth differently than you would from satire. The satire, you definitely got truth in it, but it's humorous, it's mocking, and it is sometimes exaggerated. You understand? Where the truth is not that. It's just what it is. It's just what it is. So, hope that helps a person that doesn't have enough patience to, gather, you know, pertinent intel. And when you don't have that patience, then you wouldn't find yourself being amongst those that, have the ability to, see past certain things and to do a lot of fact finding. And that fact finding that you find out may be detrimental to others that don't want you to find out those facts. you know, and being that you are one that find out certain things and have the ability to find out those things, you will be continuously be targeted because you don't stop there. You just continuously go and you go and you go and you go and you go until they either have to silence you or they have to change. And that's the way it goes. You don't allow discouragement to silence you. You allow your willingness to um, be put in that position, be what it is that you know, you know. So that's something that you just wanted to share because it may be beneficial to some people. Especially when they come with these spirits that you can, that's perceivable through, even, devices. You can feel and you can test spirits. So when you come with the spirit of um discouragement, you you know what I mean, a person can pick up on that. I'm sorry, but this is 110 minutes long. I can't bear to listen to this. You know, it's you. You know, so if it's informative, if it's a 300 minutes long, then I'm gonna watch it. If it's going to be beneficial, if it's 5 days long, if it's 2 weeks, this is how people sit around and watch whole TV shows because they want to get to all the information out of what they're watching. Nobody see a TV series that's, hold on, there's 20 episodes. I'm not watching that. Can't bear to watch that. 20 episodes. I'm not watching that. You know, no, they want to get to the bottom of it. You know, so yeah, you got to be mindful. When you try to discourage people who gets courage from, I mean, sources that's beyond people's scope. My courage comes from, I mean, my connection with a divine source. So it's not reliant on um, humanistic or mortals um, validation. Is validated by a divine source. So I don't I don't seek any kind of validation. So I don't need validation.